Hi, everybody. Welcome to 5 ways to get the most out of your GLP-1. I'm really excited to share this today because I feel like when you go on a GLP-1, like I am investing in this and I just want to get the most out of it. Like I want to make sure I'm getting the results that I'm really looking for. And so these are 5 ways that are all backed by studies, and also they are clinically validated ways that you can really get the most out of your GLP-1, your personalized peptide therapy. So let's jump in. The first one, it's funny because it's kind of not sexy. Oh, well, education use only. Yes, everything here is for education use only. Always go back to your practitioner for specific prescription medication, questions, dosages, all of that. All right. Number one is choosing your injection day. Uh, this is going to be, I'm saying Friday, and I'll tell you why I'm saying Friday. However, each one of you is a little bit different. And so I want you to find that money spot, that day that is really the best day for you. Now, the reason why I say Friday is because your appetite, um, people tend to eat more on weekends. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, those days that you're not at work, you're out with friends, you're out partying, socializing, all of those different things, they tend to come alongside with a little bit more caloric intake. So, I recommend that you do it on a Friday for 2 reasons. The first reason is when you very first start off, you may start to feel a little off just because your digestion is going to change, your calories are going to go down, which means you might be even more tired, different things like that. And so by doing it on a Friday, you're able to acclimate a little bit better while you're not having to work. So that is one thing. The other is, like I said, we just tend to ingest more calories along the weekend. And so, one of the things you'll notice is your injection. You'll notice right away it starts to quiet down that food noise. It's going to start kind of just making you have less of an appetite, your metabolism, all of these changes are going to be happening, and they're going to be really strong until what we call like the expiration effect. So, right when you get to your 6th day, your 7th day, right? A lot of those things by then will start weaning or start wearing off, and you'll notice your appetite start to come back. And we just don't want your appetite to come back on the days that you tend to eat more, anyways. Okay, so that's why I say injection day is Friday. However, if you feel like maybe you eat more on different days, or you want to do it other days in the week, you can absolutely do this. I have just found this by interviewing hundreds of people, practitioners, that best day for injections is on a Friday. Now, another thing that you can do to maximize your GLP-1 is going to be rotating your injection sites weekly. So, I want you to pick a different spot for those injections, whether you're doing your stomach, your outer thigh, back of your arms, whatever, but you want to make sure you're getting it in the subcutaneous fat, because that is where it's going to absorb best. That's where you're going to get more of that medication kind of adopted into the body. So you're going to pinch about an inch of fat in order to get that into that subcutaneous fat layer so that you can absorb it best there. So there's a couple tips on that. Uh, just if you need a reminder, if you go into your XMD patient portal, you have a full GLP-1 guide with all the tips, tricks, and all of the guidance that you need. We also have our XMD Wellness private Facebook group for patients only. And these are great places for you to learn more things about the XMD personal peptide experience. So, but this is part of the thing that is in that guide is we want to make sure that we're sanitary. So, washing your hands, right? You're going to clean off the top of the vial. You're going to clean off the injection site, wherever it is. You're going to prepare that syringe, right? You got to take off the caps off of both the top and the bottom. And then you're going to turn the vial and syringe upside down, and you're going to draw out however many units for your prescription. And then you're going to tap, 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 try to get as many bubbles out. If you get a couple bubbles, you guys, it's not the end of the world, but you just try to get as many of those tiny air bubbles out as you can. And then, of course, like I said, you're going to inject it. But little tip, like I said, pinch about 1 inch of fat so that you can get it into that subcutaneous layer. You're going to inject the medication slowly and steadily just to make sure that all of the medication has been injected. Once you're done, you can apply like a cotton ball or something if you have a little blood or anything like that. And then we want to, of course, safely dispose of those needles. So that is how to administer. Now, tip number 2 is muscle preservation. This is critical. And I know if you have been on my calls before, I have been talking about this since before we launched XMD Wellness. Your muscle is your longevity organ. It is your metabolic muscle is so important. And as we age, that starts to go down already naturally. Now you pair that with obesity, and then now rapid weight loss, you're going to see even more muscle loss if you do not do these things. So, but if you do these things, then you're great. You get all of the fat loss with still the metabolic protection and longevity protection of muscle. It is not as if you inject a GLP-1 and it like disintegrates your muscle. That is not what's happening. All that's happening is people on a GLP-1, their calories are dropping, which means their protein intake is dropping, and they're rapidly losing weight, which means they're also going to lose some muscle with that. Now, you can lose weight rapidly and not lose muscle. So one of the things I want you to do is make sure that you are weight training 3 times a week. Okay, this is really important. This is really important. Whether you are somebody who you have had amazing results, and I talk to these people every day, they have had such amazing results. They feel so good. They're going to be on this forever. And that is amazing. Like, that is great. And then there's some people who they hit their results and then they start to taper down, right, until they go off, and then they want to maintain that weight loss. Whichever path you're looking for, the most important thing that we want to support you in is that you keep your results and that you don't hit those plateaus. And so we want to make sure that we're helping you with that. So one of the ways you're going to do that is by maintaining muscle. And that muscle is going to burn more calories. It's going to protect your bones. It is literally the longevity organ, and really, I call it metabolic muscle because it's so important for that. And so you're gonna weight train at least 3 times a week. Okay. I will say the average American is not doing that. So if you can at least hit 3 times a week, you are better than most at, making sure that we're getting that muscle. All right, there are 3 types of muscle, and this is why I'll talk about what you need to ingest for muscle, but it is so important to be working on your muscles and also the muscles that we're working on in different ways. So you have your cardiac muscle, that's your heart, right? You have smooth muscle, and then you have skeletal muscle. And we want to make sure that we are supporting all 3 of these. We want to protect your heart. We want to support what you would consider, what most people think about when they think of muscles, right? That smooth muscle. And we definitely want to protect that skeletal muscle. And so we are going to do this by weight training 3 times a week, at least. Next up is protein. This kind of couples a little bit with that muscle, because in order for your body to build muscle, you need these things called amino acids. And these amino acids are the building block of the human body. And so we want to make sure that we're getting protein, adequate amount of protein, but just as important as the protein amount is leucine. Leucine is an amino acid that at 2.5 grams or above, it triggers muscle protein synthesis, okay? And that's what we want. We want that protein, those amino acids to come in and say, I need more muscle. So when you weight train, you are now supporting the building of that muscle. One of the things that you'll see when people are like, oh, I don't feel good on a GLP-1, a lot of times it's because they're eating less, but they're mainly eating carbohydrates. And what that's going to do is that is when your body is going to essentially burn muscle instead of fat. Like you're not going to, because you're not supporting what that muscle needs. And so it's going to start breaking that down. And that is one of the reasons why people on a GLP-1 lose muscle and not just fat. So in order to not have that happen, we are going to make sure that we're ingesting protein and that we're weight training. With the protein, like I said, you want to hit at least 2.5 grams of leucine each time. So we have our clear protein, and just one scoop hits that 2.5 grams. So you can have that multiple times a day. But another ways you can do it, right, is I think it's roughly around 4 to 5 eggs, 5 ounces of chicken. Like there are other ways to get leucine throughout the day. But one of the things that I have found with clear protein for people, for patients who are on a GLP-1, is it really changes your the mouthfeel with food. And because your appetite is dropping, sometimes it's nice just to drink it. And especially when it's kind of that juice consistency, like clear protein is, it's almost kind of like water. And so that's a lot easier for people to consume protein and make sure they're hitting those protein targets. You're going to want to make sure that you go to singular.com, go to our clear protein. We have a protein calculator, and that is where you can find your protein targets. All right. Actually, so with protein, so you're going to have your, like I said, amino acids, the building block of the human body, right? So you're going to have your essential amino acids, non-essential, and then we have some conditionally essential because you actually do need these during certain times of life. And so, but these essential amino acids, so all of these amino acids are going to assist you. But when we look at the essential amino acids, these are things that your body isn't producing, right? Mostly you have to consume these through food. And that's one of the ways is like through clear protein, you're going to get these essential amino acids that build that. Particularly clear protein is the highest in leucine. And like I said, that's what's going to trigger that muscle protein synthesis. All right. We're going to jump to your gut. Your gut is the ultimate appetite control hub. So when you think of your appetite, even a GLP-1, everything begins and ends in the gut. Okay, so this is super important to focus on. And this is one of the things that we see with people who are GLP-1 deficient is gut issues. So your gut is what's considered an endocrine organ, meaning your gut produces hormones. And those hormones, these are going to be what slows gastric emptying, makes you feel fuller for longer, triggers that, right? So it's going to produce, so you have good gut bacteria, it's going to take prebiotics, and it's going to create these short chain fatty acids. That's going to tell your gut, you need to release GLP-1. You need to release PYY. You need to release these hormones that are going to boost satiety and keep your hunger in check. Okay, so we want to biohack your gut. The reason we want to biohack your gut while on a GLP-1 is because we don't want you to hit plateaus. So we are tackling the issue two-part. We are doing a GLP-1 agonist receptor, which is what your medication is, but then we're also going to biohack the gut into producing satiety hormones. And satiety hormones that are not GLP-1, right? You have GLP-1, but you also have PYY and CCK. And we also want to activate those satiety hormones. And so you can do that through your gut. So I want to think of these little bacteria. They're tiny biohackers, and they're going to turn what you eat into these little molecular messages. And these messages are what going to tell your brain, I'm full, I'm stable, I'm satisfied, instead of I'm starving, feed me everything in the fridge. Okay, so I want you to think of your gut as that appetite control hub. Another way, so one of the, I would say, is the MVPs for GLP-1 secretion is what we call short chain fatty acids. This is when this good bacteria, it takes prebiotics and it produces these short chain fatty acids. These are going to activate receptors on the gut cells that tell your body to produce more of those satiety hormones. Those are going to enhance just natural GLP-1 secretion, but it's also going to help strengthen your gut lining and just support metabolic balance and kind of that energy regulation. And so that is really key in this. And so this is why our complete probiotic is the perfect companion piece for a GLP-1, is because it essentially biohacks your gut into producing satiety hormones, helping you to feel fuller for longer, enhancing the metabolism, but also improving your mood and your gut health. So it is a very targeted, strain specific probiotic. All right, so these are, if I was to do kind of like a checklist of how to biohack your gut for GLP-1 power, this is what I would say. So, number one is going to be prebiotics or fermentable fibers, okay? These are going to feed beneficial microbes. The average American is getting, I believe last I read, it's roughly around 4 to 5% of Americans even get in the recommended FDA amount of fiber. Okay, that's really bad. That's really, really low. Okay, so we want you to up that. But what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to go from no fiber to tons of fiber overnight. Okay, so I want you to be really strategic with me on this one. If you are somebody and maybe tomorrow you bust out your food journal and you track your fiber for the day. You're going to take that amount and then I want you to increase it by a few grams. Wait a few days, increase it by a few grams, and start to build your way up to the recommended 25 to 30 grams of fiber a day. One of the really great ways you can do that is we have a product called Complete Prebiotic, and it was a prebiotic that's specifically formulated actually for metabolic health. It has prebiotic fibers that your body needs in order, right, to create short chain fatty acids. But it also has polyphenols that are microbiome modulators, and these are going to help to modulate your gut. So that's with prebiotic supplementation, right? Because we want all of this good gut bacteria to grow, thrive, and create short chain fatty acids. We want a diverse diet. So I want you to look at the things that you're eating. And I know we're creatures of habit, so I know we tend to eat the same thing, but start to try to rotate things. If you have blueberries one morning, try to have strawberries the next, or like start to diversify those plant points, because those different plants are going to feed the gut in different ways, and that's going to create a more diverse microbiome. And in the largest twin city ever, one of the things they found with obese twins versus a healthy twin is that the obese twin did not have microbial diversity, where the healthy weighted twin did. And so that is one of the ways that we have found that having diverse microbiome is the best way to be at a healthy weight. So we want to make sure that we're supporting that through targeted probiotic strains, but then also a diverse diet, diverse prebiotics. Our complete prebiotic, it has 5 different types of fibers in it. Plus, it also has a diverse blend of polyphenols. And those are like superfruits. So I want you to think blueberries and bilberry and European berries and all of these different polyphenol fruits. And those are going to help modulate the gut. So, little tip, I'm going to say biohackers know it is not just what you eat, it's what your microbes turn it into. So if your microbes are going to take that fiber and it's going to create those short chain fatty acids, and that is how you biohack your gut into losing weight. And this is really going to help you get the most out of your GLP-1. So this is like my last tip, but I think it is the most important, is consistency. Okay. I would rather you pick progress over perfection. Like every day, just try to be as consistent as possible. And that is how I have found people break through plateaus. So one is consistent peptide use. Okay. Whether you're taking an oral, whether you're taking injection, I want you to make sure that you are being consistent with it. Um, it is not, I think a lot of times people think like, oh, I just want to titrate up, right? And if you're new here, titration just means because what we do is we actually start people at a starting dose, a specific level that meets that person's needs, and we start to work with the body to testing it to see, there's if you go too high, you're going to have side effects. So we want to hit that money spot, right? If you remember the Goldilocks and the Three Little Bears, right? We don't want to go too high, but we also don't want to go too low. We want to find what's just right. And so that's what we're working through with that's what you're going to work through with your practitioner. They're going to find you that starting dose, and then they're going to figure out whether they need to titrate up or maybe they don't need to, right? Maybe you need to go down and you're going to work with your practitioner on that. But the most important thing is going to be just consistently doing it. And that is where you're going to find the best results. Number two is you have to hit those protein targets. Okay. Whether you want to be on a peptide forever, whether you're on a peptide until you hit your goals, whatever your situation may be, still hitting that protein target is going to be key. I want you to start hitting your fiber targets. But like I said, like slowly build that fire, like add that wood instead of smothering it. Okay, so I want you to add that wood, like so keep adding fiber until you hit that 25 to 30 grams recommended fiber. Quality sleep. There has been a lot of studies over the last couple of years that have shown that people who do not get in quality sleep or enough sleep gain weight. And so that is really key. I want you to think of sleep as that is your time for your body to recover. And that is one way for you to maximize your GLP-1 results is through sleep. Some of the things that I do to help to really get quality sleep, although I will say a lot of people sleep better on a GLP-1 naturally because of what it's doing for inflammation, for what it's doing for your metabolic system, and really just all of it's essentially kind of healing certain pathways. People are sleeping better. But sometimes you can sleep better, but sometimes you choose not to. You're doom scrolling at night. You're binge watching TV shows or whatever the case may be. I want you to think of sleep as just as important as your diet, just as important as getting in your peptide each week. It is really important for healing. So some of the things, like I said, I do is put away your phone. I focus on some breathing techniques. Maybe it's meditation, maybe it's prayer, whatever it is that you can kind of get yourself into a good mindset. A cold room, a very cool room actually does help and does help with influence your weight. So these are some things. I also take NAD dreams because I want to calm my central nervous system while also produce NAD plus. And NAD plus, I could do a whole series on just NAD plus and how magical that is. But those are some of the things that I do to get in quality, deep, restorative sleep. And that's really important. And last but certainly not least is weight training. I want you to make sure that you are moving your body daily, but then also weight training at least 3 times a week. If you do these things, it seems so simple. It's on a screen, right? It's just these simple 5 things. But if you do these 5 things, this is how you are going to get the most out of your GLP-1 peptide. This is how you are going to maximize these results, feel great, and really set yourself up for success. So take a screenshot, write these down. This is super important in order for you just to get the most out of your GLP-1. It has been so incredible since we launched XMD Wellness to see the incredible results that have rolled through. And these aren't just weight results. People feel better, they sleep better, their mood has improved. It has truly been incredible to see how life-changing personal peptide therapy is, especially when it is in conjunction with these lifestyle implementations, modalities, whatever you want to call them. When you pair these two together, That is the real magic. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I hope you guys learned something. You have something to take away. Please put it in the chat what you are really going to focus on this week. And maybe it's something new. If you feel overwhelmed by these 5 things, just tackle one thing, right? Tackle it and until it becomes a habit. Tackle the next thing until it becomes a habit. Tackle the next thing until it becomes a habit. If you do that, you are going to be well on your way to maximized results. Thank you so much. Have a good night.